One type on this list isn't technically garlic at all, and it's been fooling shoppers for years. Another one is being smuggled across a Canadian provincial border right now because it's illegal to sell where it grows best. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's in your garlic bowl and which kind you're actually holding. Welcome to Food Exposition. Today, 8 types of garlic, what each one actually tastes like, and where it really comes from. First up, the one sitting in almost every grocery store in the country. First, Softneck Garlic. Papery, tightly layered skins peel back to reveal 8 to 20 small, irregular cloves packed close together with a flavor that's noticeably milder and more even than what's coming later on this list, and skins thin enough that a good squeeze pops the clove right out. This is the type behind almost every braid of garlic you've ever seen hanging in a kitchen because its stem stays flexible enough to weave even after curing, unlike every other type on this list. It doesn't need a real winter to form a bulb, which is exactly why it's the type that dominates supermarkets. Roughly 95% of what you'll find in a store is this variety, and most of it was grown in China and shipped over. It also outlasts almost everything else on this list in storage, holding for 6 to 9 months in a pantry without sprouting. That's the mild, reliable one. The next type trades storage life for something sharper. Second, Hardneck Garlic. Fewer cloves, but noticeably bigger ones, arranged in a single neat ring around a stiff woody stalk running straight through the center with a bite that's sharper, spicier, and more complex than Softneck, the kind of garlic flavor people mean when they say something tastes like real garlic. This type won't even form a proper bulb without a genuine cold winter first. 4 to 8 full weeks below 40 degrees, a process called vernalization, which is why it thrives in northern growing regions and struggles in warm climates no matter how well it's cared for. The trade-off is storage, where Softneck lasts most of a year. Hardneck starts to fade after 4 to 6 months, and refrigerating it actually backfires, triggering sprouting almost overnight instead of preserving it. But that hard central stalk is also where the next item on this list comes from. Hardneck garlic doesn't just give you a bulb. Before that bulb even finishes forming, it gives you this. Third, garlic scapes, crisp and grassy, closer to a chive or scallion than to a raw clove, curling into loose spirals with a flavor that's garlicky without any of the sharp aftertaste. These are the flowering stalks that Hardneck garlic sends up every early summer, and farmers cut them off on purpose before they can harden or flower. So the plant redirects all its energy back into the bulb instead of wasting it on a flower nobody's going to eat. What would otherwise be a discarded byproduct turns out to be genuinely good eating on its own, especially blended into a pesto. Everything so far has been real garlic. That changes with the next one, and most people have no idea. Fourth, elephant garlic. Cloves the size of a small egg, mild and faintly sweet, almost more onion than garlic, with none of the sharp bite the first 3 items on this list have, and a texture that turns soft and almost creamy when roasted whole. Here's the part that surprises almost everyone. This isn't true garlic at all. Botanically, it's a cultivar of wild leek, genetically closer to a leek than to the garlic sitting next to it on the same shelf, even though it grows a clove-like head and shares garlic's same basic pungent chemistry. A single bulb can grow as large as a fist, but with only 4 to 8 oversized cloves inside, and unlike its hardneck neighbor, it doesn't need a real winter to form them. Adapting comfortably across a much wider range of climates, it looks like a garlic that hit the gym. It's actually just a very large leek wearing a garlic costume. That one's an imposter by species. The next one is real garlic playing by completely different rules. Fifth, solo garlic, also sold as pearl or single clove garlic. Cut one open, and there's no ring of smaller cloves waiting inside. Just one dense, solid piece, with a flavor that hits more concentrated and uniform than a normal segmented clove, since there's no papery divide breaking up the bite. It originated in Yunnan province in China, and because a single bulb yields exactly 1 usable clove instead of a dozen, it's typically marketed as a specialty item and priced well above ordinary multi-clove garlic, clove for clove. That one's still raw garlic underneath. The next one has been transformed into something almost unrecognizable. Sixth, black garlic. Sticky and soft enough to spread with a butter knife, dark as a dried date, tasting nothing like raw garlic at all. More like balsamic vinegar crossed with molasses with a savory umami backbone, a faint smokiness, and 0 of the sharp aftertaste every other item on this list leaves behind. It's made by aging whole bulbs for 15 to 90 days at high heat and high humidity, a slow chemical transformation called the Maillard reaction the same browning reaction responsible for a good sear on a steak or the crust on fresh bread. Not true fermentation at all, and no color or preservative is ever added. Where this actually came from is a genuine unresolved argument. A Japanese producer named Kamamura filed the first manufacturing patent for it in Mie Prefecture in 1999. But Korean sources point to a fermentation tradition going back centuries earlier, and at least one Toronto-based Korean family claims a home method passed down for over 100 years. Nobody's settled it. What's not in dispute is the result: polyphenol levels over 5 times higher than the raw cloves it started as. That one takes months to make. The next one is the opposite: garlic pulled out of the ground early on purpose. 7th, green garlic. Green garlic, also called spring garlic. The whole plant is edible at this stage. White bulb up through the green stalk with a flavor closer to a mild scallion than to the sharp cloves it would have become if left in the ground. It's simply ordinary garlic harvested weeks before maturity, before the bulb has had time to divide into separate papery-skinned cloves at all, which is exactly why you can cook with the entire stalk instead of peeling individual pieces. Every type so far, you can walk into a store and buy without a second thought. The last one, in one entire Canadian province, you legally can't. 8th and last, ramps, also called wild leeks. Broad, tender green leaves over a slender white bulb and a burgundy stem, with a flavor that lands somewhere between garlic and onion but carries a wilder, woodsy edge no cultivated variety on this list has. Available for only a few weeks each spring. Foraged rather than farmed, and gone again almost as soon as the season turns warm. A single bulb can take up to 20 years to reach a harvestable size, and once it's pulled, that plant is finished. There's nothing left to regrow from, which is exactly why overharvesting nearly wiped populations out across parts of its range. Since 1995, it's been illegal to harvest ramps commercially on public land in Quebec, and it remains illegal to sell them in the province at all. Individuals can only take up to 50 bulbs a year for personal use. That's created an actual black market, with foragers digging them up in Quebec and smuggling them across into Ontario to sell at city markets. Parts of the United States have restricted harvesting too, including the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. One last piece most people never connect. The city of Chicago gets its name from a Miami, Illinois word for the wild garlic that once grew thick along its riverbanks. If this changes how you look at the garlic bin at the store, that's exactly what this channel is for. Hit subscribe if you want more of these, because next time we're going through every type of chocolate you can actually buy and what's legally allowed to be called chocolate in the first place. See you in the next one.